My name is IKE ONYECHERE. I'm the chairman of Exam Ethics Marshals International. Well, it is an act that was recently signed by the president to enable indigent students, so to say, access funding, access money to pay their tuition for free interest over a period of time. There are a lot of conditionalities attached to it, which are generating debates. Conditions that are currently generating debates. But basically, it is a plan to make funding easier for indigent Nigerian students. The Students' Loan Act, as it is called, has a number of conditionalities attached to it. For example, the eligibility, what makes the students eligible, how do they access the loan, how is the money going to come, how is it going to be disbursed, what disqualifies somebody who gets a loan, what is the repayment plan, and so on and so forth. What kind of guarantee do they bring? So those are some of the issues, and some of these issues are generating controversy. Yeah, for me, actually, a lot of things need to be thought through about this loan. For example, the issue of eligibility. If you say every student, there's no discrimination about tribe, about religion, about no disqualification, and so any student who gets admission in federal or state, in a government institution. So now that is a very wide bracket. The only thing is that, well, somebody has to earn less than 500,000 or about 50,000, less than 50,000 a month, or 500,000 a year, or the parents, or whatever. Then after the schooling, maybe after the NYSC, you have only 2 years to repay the loan and so on and so forth. But you see, I think that these boundaries are very, very wide. And the thing is going to cause a lot of problems in implementation. There are going to be a lot of corrupt influences in deciding who gets and who doesn't get. I mean, in deciding who qualifies and who doesn't qualify, and so on and so forth. But I think that is a very good idea, because it is important to make, because countries that have as much resources as we have in this country are offering free education, even less resources. Education is very fundamental. It's the greatest investment that we can make. So I believe that the issue of repayment, guarantors, and so on and so have to be looked at. You see, my own idea is this. Education, higher education, fundamentally, promotes two basic things, two basic objectives of education. And it is written everywhere in the mission and vision of almost all education institutes that you are there to promote character and learning. Education is supposed to equip you with character and learning. Now, this loan, for example, is addressing assets, yes, but it's also addressing the issue of character. You understand? It's addressing the issue of character and learning. In that, one of the things that disqualifies somebody from getting the loan is if you get involved in exam malpractice. So I want the review of the loan to look at that matter in more detail. It's a very good idea, because that will promote character. But you have to now sit down and define, how do you identify exam malpractice? At what level? Is it at the level of secondary school or whatever? What are the records, the examination bodies, and so on and so forth? That is very, very good. You understand? As a criteria. as a criteria for that loan. But the second aspect is the issue of learning. I will want a situation where the loan is also used to identify the brilliant people in society. I'm one of those who believe that there is no way in this world, including the most advanced countries, where every person must go to university or higher education. Do you understand? It's 100% of the people. And higher education is supposed to be for those who have a higher ability in terms of intellectual skill set and so on and so forth. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I think something like that can be, if they remove all the guarantees, all the repayment and all the things, it can be made to get closer to a bursary scheme, to develop, to generate the issue of intellectually developed people who are more intelligent than others, like people who are more who have more scholarship. You understand? For example, all the institutions, the government institutions, when somebody gains admission, they can now look at the issue of the person's score, the person's ability to do well. And then one of the criteria for selection will be to cream out those guys at the top who perhaps cannot pay their school fees. It will be easy to do that. And then you remove the issue of you must pay 2 years after scholarship or so on and so forth. Unless, of course, the government will also guarantee them jobs. You can also go further. If you, for example, you say you must pay 2 years after NYC, then you guarantee the person the job to pay. But if you now link it to the issue of intellectual capacity and the issue of character, that is, you haven't committed examination, then there is more qualification for the government to even go further to say, okay, this level of people, if we give you this loan, because you have these characteristics and so on and so forth, we will also help you to get jobs. Do you understand? So that you begin to see the society will begin to get our young men and women to be able to move towards working hard to pass their exams without trying to cut corners. You will also get them to also study very, very, very hard to develop their character, to develop their level of integrity. In fact, to build the ethical value of the country. Because these are people who, for them to get that loan and get it to, you have said one, they have not committed exam malpractice. And that is where those universities, those colleges of education, those polytechnics, those here that will select these people will do very, very well to be able to ensure that the selection process is very credible. Do you understand? So when we do that, but if you throw the whole thing open, let it be all commerce, of course we know anyway, there'll be so much confusion and there'll be so much corruption. So I think the loan is good fundamentally, but there's need to sit down and to be able to now, deconstruct it so that it can move towards specific achieving national objectives. I've been saying it for very many years. People can talk about, lack of funding in education and so on and so forth, which makes a lot of sense. But I will say what I said for the first time on May 28, 1996, when I launched the exam ethics movement. And I said that if we don't deal with the issue of examination malpractice, dishonesty, corruption in the education system, that this country will not move forward, either by way of even governance and all that, because education is the source code for every other thing. The moment that source code is corrupt, the moment that base that produces every person is corrupt, every other person will be corrupt. And that is why you see we have corrupt politicians, we have corrupt men of God, we have corrupt educationists, we have corrupt civil servant, we have corrupt judiciary, we have corrupt everything, because the educational system has not been sanitized. And until we sanitize that, yes, we have anti-corruption agencies. They can do very well. You can capture 500 people or 1,000 people and jail them. But the education system will produce another 100,000 people willing to replace that. So fundamentally, to your question, how do I describe the education system? The education system, but we will start when you launch a national focused program to deal with the issue of exam malpractice and curtail it. It may sound a little bit ordinary, it's not important, but it's the most important thing this country will do. For example, we have done election. Most of those elections, who are the electoral officers? Who are the returning officers? Is it not people from education? Who sold those votes? Who rewrote those election slips? Are they not, some of them, are they not professors? Some of them, are they not vice chancellors? Are they not the intellectual at the highest level of education? Those are the people that are supposed to give us the best result, the people of the highest integrity, to protect something, to protect the integrity of the education with their life. But what are we seeing? That is education. So that's how I see education. The government has done well. The loan has been signed. It's a good start. You understand? Yes, the students, there is hope and everything. But there is need for people, for this, all the stakeholders to still sit down and cross the T's and dot the I's, even for the interest of the students. Because, like most people, loan is not a very good thing. I'm telling you, a lot of people think that when you get a loan, you have won lottery, and so it's not like that. When you get the loan, the problem starts when it comes to repayment. When the owner of the money chases you. Because with the way they have structured the act, the repayment, 2 years, and so on and so forth, whether you have money or you don't have money, the guarantors we are getting, they have to sign, bring photographs, have this and that, and so on and so forth. So what you now do is to remove some of those handicaps so that it's not a question of entrapment. It should not be a situation of entrapping the students. Because this can serve. Let it not be that even the government want to introduce tuition fees through the back door. Because right now, the policy in the country is that in those government institutions, officially they don't pay tuition fees. But if you now say the loan has to be used to pay tuition fees, you understand? So which tuition fee that is now not being paid, which means by the time you start it in September, you will now introduce the tuition fees they will use the loan to pay. Otherwise, fundamentally, the basis of what they will use the loan to pay is not there. But if it is a question of, okay, now we'll introduce tuition fees, you are going to just have conflicts. You understand? So these are some of the things that has to be resolved. And you will be transparent in implementing it, both on the side of the government and on the side of the students who will be rejoicing. Do you understand? Because if you get this loan, if some people will not get it, and then you end up to say, okay, because I don't see them. If the students get this loan and they can't pay and they don't have a job, they have finished new school, what are you going to do? Jail everybody? And then you say, one of the things the loan said is that if you can't pay, you pay a fine of 500,000 naira. This is somebody that is still owing you, I don't know how much it will be, maybe 100,000. He was not able to pay. And you try him, and the law says the sanction is that you pay a fine of 500,000 naira or I think something you go to jail for 1 or 2 years or something. Some of these things, yes, can be written in law, but when it comes to enforceability, so we need to be transparent and honest. You understand? And you have to use the loan to pay for tuition fees in these government institutions. Meanwhile, the tuition fees are not being paid in these government institutions, which means that you are either planning to introduce tuition fees, or that fundamentally the whole thing is non-starter ab initio, because what the act says they should use the loan to pay is not there. And if you want to go further, even the university education, the most difficult thing is not even the tuition. The only expenditure, the main is not only the tuition fees. There are other expenses students go through. There are the issue of books, there are the issue of upkeep, there are the issue of hostel accommodation, there is the issue of feeding, and so on and so forth. So why are we restricting it to tuition fees? Do you understand? And why are we restricting it to government institutions? Are you with me? Uh-huh. So these are the things. If you want to find a way of getting people to go to government institutions, then you have to make sure you don't increase the tuition fees there. Because the only difference for me, one of the major differences between government institutions and private institutions are the fees. I mean, they are the fees now. So if you now add the fees or whatever, I think would be, because look, the whole thing needs to be rediscussed. Good idea, fine, but there are a lot of unanswered questions.